Well, we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Denise Demese, and Jeff is here. We are from the Office of Faculty Development. Peter Berryman will be joining us shortly. And we are so excited to kick off our next year for the Chancellor's Learning Scholars. Just a brief overview of what we're going to do today. Jeff's going to go over some stuff. And then as always, we try to honor what you all have requested, which is more time talking to each other. So we're going to do a little exercise in breakout rooms, which will hopefully be low stress, kind of fun. Just thinking about the past year, what you learned, and then what's going to happen in this next year coming up. Most of you are in your second year, but we have a handful of folks who are starting their FLCs for the first time this year. So you all have the folks who are coming back are going to be our more knowledgeable others, our MKOs, and you are going to help us get the new folks launched, as well as giving you ideas for what you can do this year to be even more successful. So that is the plan for today. And so I'm just going to hand it off to Jeff to start off.
All right, let's see if I do this correctly. Tell me if you see the screen from a year ago today. You see it?
Yes.
Okay, let me pull up one that I can speak from. Okay, I promised Denise I would be less than 5 minutes, and then I started thinking about all that you all have done, and so I thought, flashback, go back to the September 21st, 2020, and check your watches. It's about the same time, the same day, this 1 year later. Okay. But you've done it. You've done it. All right. You folks, with all the difficulties of the pandemic, you've done it. Here are some slides from the final reports. I want to go from the September 21st, 2020, 9 months ahead to the final reports, because this is the outcome, at least one outcome of this initiative or project. Okay. There are several. One from the University of Georgia. That first one was from Kennesaw, University of Georgia, Middle Georgia, Fort Valley, Coastal. And so here's the thing. We have a spreadsheet from Survey Gizmo, Alchemer, that gathered everyone's final report. And what we've been looking at for the past couple of years is this and this, or this and this. So each of you who had learning community last year selected a topic. Those were the 8 on the left that we had offered. Some of you have other topics, that's fine. And we looked at those topics in terms of outcomes. Your expertise, collegiality and leadership, and course changes, practices, teaching practices. Each one of these outcomes we've seen achieved, resulted from the learning community for the CLSs in particular, but also for your participants. One of the chapters in a book that's coming out this fall focuses on collegiality. Georgia State faculty wrote that chapter. Hundreds of practices and course changes, and many of you have gone on to serve your institution in other ways because of your leadership and pedagogical expertise. So here's a quick slide summary of what we've done in the project thus far. 250 learning communities, about 2,500 participants, a little bit more depending on how you count people who stay in the community more than 1 year. The course change, if it's a good thing, it often is extended to your classes, not simply one course change as an experiment. It becomes something that you do. And then the impact on students. How many students do you teach in a semester? My first semester at ULM, 35 years ago, I taught 150 composition students in the first semester. That was a challenge. Impact. How, if I find one good thing to do that varies or changes how I engage my students, then that can extend across literally hundreds of students a year times 2,500 participants. And you're looking at tens of thousands of people who can benefit from what you're doing in small groups. And then finally, coming out this fall, a 3-year project, 2 books are being published this fall by Rowman and Littlefield, Campus Conversations and Faculty Learning Communities. 35, I think, Denise, 35 USG faculty and CEDLs contributed to this project. So great job, have fun, go deep, and attend Denise's webinar. She's been great with all that she's done.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Denise.
What questions you all have for Jeff before we kind of go to the next part? No questions. All right. So I forgot to mention in our overview that Peter Berryman is also going to do kind of a tour of our, I don't even know what to call it because we don't have it named yet, but our learning platform. Should we do that now, do y'all think, or should we do that after our breakout groups? What do you think, Jeff?
I saw Peter enter. I think he's in the room.
He's here. What do you think, Peter?
I'm here.
Want to go for it?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Let me make you a co-host.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty. Let me share my screen if I may. All right, there we are. Everyone should see. First of all, we've been developing our online virtual platform or campus for professional development to support USG faculty and staff across all institutions. We began this process with developing one, the platform, but two, a series of short courses on some of the pedagogies which have been researched by the Chancellor's Learning Scholars. And we employ the expertise of faculty and experts throughout USG to help us create those courses. So while they've been providing the content and the instructional activities for the courses, I've been working on the design of the platform, which will at some point open up to all USG faculty and staff as well. We have 3 areas or pillars for content development to organize and host, not just courses, but also we hope events and other types of collaborative types of activities as well. For this time, we're working on our short courses catalog, as mentioned, developing courses for these 8 pedagogies. Presently, in beta, we have 5 courses which have been completed. High impact practices, inclusive pedagogy, small teaching, SOTL, a course on developing a SOTL project, as well as transparency of learning and teaching, or TILT. Everyone or anyone can self-enroll into our courses and complete them. They are not facilitated and they are self-paced. And through the process of completing those activities, enrollees will be able to earn USG badges and also a certificate of completion. So once someone is enrolled in a course, they'll be able to log in and begin the activities. The content for the courses are supposed to be completed in and around 90 minutes of time. We wanted to respect the amount of time that faculty could invest in reviewing and completing the activities online, but we also wanted to provide opportunities for you to apply the pedagogies in the classrooms and then to be able to evaluate the impact upon the students. Pretty much all the courses are set up in the same way. 3 or 4 modules, basically an orientation module, a module of foundational knowledge, a module supporting the application of the pedagogy in the classroom, and then a quick wrap up. I'll give you a quick tour of what that content might look like. And again, across the board, they're all pretty much consistent with the content we've developed. The content is meant to be reviewed and completed online using Desire to Learn. We've employed some extra D2L features to make the process a little bit more streamlined and easier to complete. We've simplified the navigation, for example. Content consists of text and/or video and image and graphics to support the delivery. Again, all of our course authors are across USG faculty that you may know. Again, this is sort of an independent study. There is no facilitator within the classroom, but we hope that the instruction and the knowledge built into the course is sufficient to provide you with what you need to apply the pedagogy in the classroom. We begin with foundational knowledge, helping you learn what you need to know before you can apply that knowledge in your classroom. In the example of the HIPS course, we begin with the 11 high impact practices and what they are, and then dig down more specifically, what are the elements of high impact practices so that you can pretty much make any instructional activity a high impact practice by employing or introducing these elements to your instruction. We did a nice job of being able to walk faculty through the process of trying to organize the information in a way that is very friendly and very consumable and not overwhelming. So just quickly, I'll walk through a few more pages of the content. Carl's course here, a lot of the content is text-based. And so it was a challenge to produce it and present it in a way that wasn't overwhelming. Some of the other courses have more video and graphics to support the content. At the end of the foundational knowledge module, you can take a quiz. Completing the quiz at an 85% or better level will award a USG bronze level badge that will be attached, available to you in your profile. The badges, bronze level achievement, can be shared on social media, or they can be downloaded and printed and presented in your teaching portfolio as well. The bronze level achievement establishes that you're able to remember and understand the information shared in the course. And we built these achievements around Bloom's taxonomy. In the next level, for application analysis, we associate those Bloom's levels with the silver level achievement. In this module, Carl walks you through some activities to help you practice how well you understand the HIPS elements. For example, we have named that element HIP or LIP, LIP being lip service to these practices, and don't worry, be hippie. At the end of the application analysis module, we have an assignment. The assignment is meant to be completed outside of the online course environment to apply the pedagogy to your classroom. And so you may apply it to an assignment, to a particular lecture, or to a topic within your course. Your proposal is shared with colleagues within the course to an online discussion board where colleagues and peers may comment upon your proposal and share observations. At the conclusion of step 2, teaching, we ask that you share your analysis of your experience in applying that pedagogy to your classroom through a survey tool. And by completing those steps, you'll receive a silver level achievement, recognizing that you're able to apply and reflect upon the application of that pedagogy. At the end, we have a wrap up and guidance for what can you do next. as well as a 5-minute course survey. And completing these activities awards a certificate of completion for the course. Thank you. If there's questions, we can take them in chat, or I'm not sure about the time and where we want to go next. Denise?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. So what hopefully you all have seen is that one of the things that we wanted to do, you know, in the past we had, well, in the golden days, pre-pandemic, we actually met face-to-face and did workshops. The last 2 years we did webinars. But what this is, these are like permanent things that not only you as CLSs can go to, but your learning communities can also come and participate in these courses as sort of a great jumping off point if these are one of your topics for this year moving forward. So hopefully you'll be able to engage with these. Some of them are rolling out sooner than later, but I think by spring, all of these will be out there for sure.
We've got a question in chat indeed about rollout. Is it accessible, and how do we access this course? Great points. One, we hope to initiate a beta test in October, hopefully sooner than later, maybe by October 15th. Let's keep our fingers crossed. One of the obstacles is we are trying to find a name for the platform. That's gone back and forth. And we do presently have 5 courses that will be available for beta testing. How will you access the course? We're going to use a single sign-on type of process. So everybody, you have your own LMS at your institutions, and you enter in your credentials and you log into your instance of D2L, and in a couple of other cases, a different learning management system. But we're going to use a single sign-on where through a link that we provide to you, selecting that link will direct you through USG Connect, so that you don't have to have any credentials assigned to the platform. Simply by clicking and verifying your identity through USG Connect, you will be enrolled within the FacultyU virtual campus, and then be able to look at the course, our courses, determine which ones you might like to complete. And at some point we'll have additional courses as well, but we hope to have at least these 5 available for the beta test sometime in October. I hope that answers the questions.
Yeah, great answer, Peter. And I think Peter, he's so humble and so talented. These 3 areas, the short courses will go live first, and you see underneath communities of practice, opening spring 2022, and the commons and shared resources opening spring 2022. So these are still taking shape, and it may be possible for the CLSs to become a community of practice within that middle pier or area. Pillar, I think is what you were calling them.
We've used, pillar is one, strand, pillar, any name, sure.
Yeah. So it's all, and we're consulting with USG faculty, and the CETLs are front running this. And so we really want to develop talent, knowledge, expertise within the USG, guided by Peter's expertise and Denise's network. If this is a great thing, resource that can go on and on, these courses need never go away. They can be added to always.
So a question, once the beta test is complete, how will we share the link? This is a question we haven't quite resolved, how to share the link. Where will it be published? It certainly will be published through the USG Office of Faculty Development website, but how might we add it? And maybe the CETLs at your school will send out email, perhaps we'll use an email list, but the link will need to be shared, and we will have to determine what are the most efficient pathways to get that link to you. So that's the question I don't have a specific answer for just yet.
I feel very confident that we will send this out to all of our CLSs once it's go. You all are tried and true. All right, thanks, Peter.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I am going, all right. So as I mentioned before, we always try and give you all a chance to talk with each other, because that was the number one thing we always heard from the feedback from you all is like, okay, I want to talk to other CLSs. I want to talk to people at different institutions. I want to get their ideas. And so we wanted to combine that with some reflective practice today, to encourage you all to think about what worked. Think about what you might want to do differently this year, maybe based on challenges. What advice you would give the new CLSs? So like I said, we've got, I don't know, maybe a dozen new folks this year, who are feeling like you did last year at this time, right? You were nervous. Oh my gosh, what's this going to be like? Will people come? What do we do during our meeting? So they're feeling like you did last year. So this is your chance to help them feel a little calm, give them some advice. And then number 5 is, what can we do for you all? So last year we did the coffee breaks, which was basically an idea that came from you all. We need a little more support. We want to talk. We're not really sure what we need yet. So we just kind of did topics as they came up throughout the year. Would that be helpful? What do you all want? So in the chat, I'm sharing the link to this Padlet. And what we're going to ask you to do is I'm going to send you all into breakout rooms with hopefully 5 or 6 people. Now listen, I know that this is when people go and like disappear and say, okay, I'm done with this, because we're still not super comfortable sometimes in breakout rooms. But my hope is that, you know, these topics are things that you all will have experience with. And even if you're brand new, then you're going to come in here and get some advice. So I'm going to send you into breakout rooms for 15 minutes. So that means you have up to 15 minutes to focus on maybe a couple of these, or maybe you could do all of them as a group. And then afterwards, I'll bring you all back and we'll look at what you've written, and we'll ask for folks to share their biggest takeaways, things like that. So yes, Courtney asked if we're supposed to do the Padlet while we're in the breakout rooms. Yeah, so do it together as a group, get in there, talk, you know, maybe brainstorm together first and then decide what you want to put in the different places. Hopefully you know how to use a Padlet, but let me just show you real quick. Let's see, I want to focus on what was the biggest challenge. Biggest challenge was knowing how, let's see, getting calendars synced so we could find a time to meet. This was always, when I ran FLCs when I was at UGA, this was the biggest problem, was just getting 10 people who had the same time available. So then you just hit publish and there it shows up right there. So I'll delete that. But that's how you post to a Padlet. So I'm going to send you all off. Go ahead and open the Padlet now from this link, because I think it might go away once you enter the chat room. So I'm just going to paste it in there again. Okay. So let me find my breakout rooms and I'm going to send you all off. So we'll see you in 15 minutes. Great ideas here. So let's look at each one in turn. So we're going to start with what's the best thing that happened, because it is important to celebrate our victories. So this first comment, the camaraderie and support from FLC members were priceless. We needed each other to survive the semester. Yeah, I can't imagine a time when we more needed other people. You know, the challenge was that not all of you could meet in person, which would have been even better, but just having that regular group of people to meet with. I see someone said group therapy, sharing ideas, solution to problems. One group talked about Jim Lang's book. They use it to facilitate engaging discussions. and then descriptions of how each were putting his ideas into action. I gotta say, Jim Lang's books are amazing for that, just for giving you, here are 3 things from this chapter that you can do. So that's a great way to use that book. I also love this one, moving out of my comfort zone. I think the best thing that happened was getting out of my comfort zone, reaching out to colleagues that can be shy. For me, these were opportunities to help enhance my teaching. So I think this is really great. Like when I used to teach graduate students and we would talk about imposter syndrome, I always said, anytime you're feeling that, it means you're doing something new. You're pushing outside of your comfort zone and you're growing, and it's super scary. But once you've done it, and then it's not new anymore. And it's part of one of the things that you now know how to do. So that is excellent. I love seeing that. One group talked about having an expert to present on a topic as a jumping off point for discussion. I heard of a lot of folks who did that. They found someone on their campus who would come and talk to the FLC, maybe on the first one, to get the conversation started. I also heard of folks who would invite experts maybe partway in. So now I have a basic understanding, but I have questions. So that's also a good time to have an expert come in. Good conversations with colleagues who cared about the topic as much as I did, yes. Brainstorming ideas together resulted in some impressive outcomes like student publications and conference presentations. I love that. Big questions surrounding the philosophy of teaching and education. Yeah, these conversations can get really deep and I love it. I feel like a scholar and learn more from my group than any book. Yeah. So a wonderful summary of the best things that happened. Would anyone else like to comment or maybe explain something that they wrote? You can unmute.
I actually have a question. This is Nicole Alamana from Valdosta State. So I love the comment, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can just have a discussion group and listen and talk. And that's great. That sounds like a really good FLC if you're not a CLS. But if you're a CLS, you have to have some kind of outcome to report on. So I feel like this probably is not a full comment about what happened in that FLC, because we did use our FLC to chat and as group therapy and group support, absolutely. But we had to be heading somewhere. We had a topic and we had to be heading somewhere, and I had to be able to report on that at the end. And I was really, really, really focused on that the whole time, in maybe not a good way. I was nervous about it, but so Denise, I don't know, do you have some input based on that question?
Is that in a different column? Oh, okay. We hadn't gotten there yet. But that's okay. So I think sometimes when we have these, we don't want it to turn into like an hour-long complaining session, right? But I don't think that's at all what this person was saying. You can have a group discussion, listen and talk to one another, and it can be successful. So I would assume that their group discussion was on a topic related to their FLC. Is that the one that you were talking about, Nicole?
Yes.
Okay.
So, because I loved the comment, but it felt like it's a little more complicated than just having a group discussion.
Well, when I think about it, the group discussion would probably be about a topic, maybe something they read, maybe something that someone is going through in their class. And the rest of the community would talk about maybe the reading and how it relates to this problem or different experiences they've had. And, hopefully takeaways like, okay, here's something I've learned, here's something I'm going to try differently. And then, at the end of the semester, you have something to write about. So sometimes these changes, they look different. They don't always look the same. They're not always these big, huge, I have redesigned my course 100%. Sometimes it's small changes. Like if you think about tilt, that's just a, it's changing the structure of a couple assignments in your class. So, it doesn't have to be huge and groundbreaking to sometimes make a big difference. Right, so
Denise,
Nicole, mhm.
that was actually my comment. Can I say just a little bit more about what I meant?
Please.
So the way I did my FLC was I picked out a bunch of readings on the topic ahead of time, and then everybody took a reading. And then when we met again the second time, we all kind of talked about the readings. And then the third time we kind of talked about, all right, well, what's everybody's plan for like what change they're going to implement in their course. And so it's not like there was like no plan, but I guess what I meant is like, it doesn't have to be really fancy or anything like that.
Yeah, I love that. And, we don't expect anyone here to be the subject matter expert on this, right? Like I might be leading an FLC on tilt, but I don't know anything about it. I'm learning it with you. And that's the idea, is we all learn together. No matter where we are, by the end, we will know more. So maybe I come in knowing quite a bit, I'll still know more because I have now experience. Maybe I've given you feedback, you've given me feedback on my tilted assignments. So we all just want to push ourselves forward a bit. But yeah, I love that. That was a great explanation. So looking at the second column, your biggest challenge, I am seeing a lot of folks. Oh, okay, Sutandra, sure.
Sorry, I didn't get a chance to join the breakout session. My students were coming in my office hours. But anyway, so what happened during my sessions, I felt like my colleagues actually kind of enjoyed some of the resources they were not aware of. Just like, I manage a lab and I do have my assistants, and, we support their tutoring activities throughout the undergraduate program in our department. And I also kind of provide them, during online, sometimes the teacher was setting up their exams, but, they still needed a little extra help for online proctoring, and the student didn't have those types of, so I supported all of those things for my department, and they were not aware of it. When they found it through my group and other resources, just like, finding out the online tutoring, they were not, all of them were up to it. So they all took advantage of now becoming aware of it, broadcasting more and more in class, so kind of relieve their workload in that sense. And at some point of time, I think they were very much, they found it really helpful with the support from the CLS community.
Yeah, that's great.
That's another thing. Someone was not having a headphone, had a difficulty with their online teaching sessions, and all of these things worked out really well through community support. So had a wonderful experience in that sense.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So a lot of resource sharing, and that's something that I see in number 5. So we'll get to that shortly too. Biggest challenge, I see a lot of folks finding that free time is always a challenge. I saw a couple people here and then in this one, but then it was sort of, I think, mentioned again later about a topic that sort of lost its oomph as the semester went on because it no longer seemed super relevant. So, it's okay to pivot to when you're in there and all of a sudden something seems more relevant. It's okay to pivot topics if that's what's going to be most meaningful for you. Finding folks, recruiting folks, that's always, something that we hear as a challenge. And so like this person said that they focused on the business school, but maybe they could have pushed out further. So, using your networks and using your network. So ask your friends to ask their friends, that snowball technique. And just letting folks know what's expected. All right, so something you're going to do different. And I see some of these are, so this first one, clarify agenda for each meeting with discussion questions in advance. So that's very structured, which kind of is very different than what we heard from, I think it was from Courtney. And that's okay. Like whatever feels better for you and for your structure, that's, what you have learned for your group is what you need to use. An effort to make it more inclusive. Meeting of the CLSs so they can share common ideas and common issues. I saw this later too. So if you would like to meet with your fellow CLSs on your campus to share ideas, we think that's a great idea. That's probably best facilitated by you all, though we can give you the names of the other CLSs if you don't know them. But I think that's a great idea. And I know that some of them do that. Some of them do it through their CETLs. Like I'm pretty sure at Valdosta and Gordon State, I'm pretty sure those two have meetings with their CETL. So, that's a great way to get together. Start earlier, focus on a different topic to appeal to a broader range of faculty participants. Recruit more members than you plan to end up with. That's probably pretty good advice because you always do lose a few, especially when you start trying to schedule. Let's see, starting earlier. Yeah. All right, so what advice will you give the new CLSs? Don't get discouraged. Let everyone talk. We talked about some of these already. Clear expectations of participation. And again, hopefully these aren't heavy workloads for your participants. Hopefully it's a topic they're interested in. That's why they signed up. The reading shouldn't be too daunting. We shouldn't be expected to read a book every 3 weeks, but maybe a chapter or maybe an article. And then maybe the next time you've tried something out and you come back and report on it. So it's not even always a heavy reading load as much as it is trying things out and then coming back and debriefing. Here's what worked, here's what didn't work, and just sharing those experiences. And then looking at the support. So coffee breaks were nice, but some of us had conflict. So, the same problem that we always have is when to schedule these things. Facilitate more discussion between CLS leaders between institutions. Okay, so this, and then the next couple of comments about sharing best practices, book recommendations, articles. So we have books that we've been recommending and articles, but I think what would be really great is to find a way for you all to share, because you're in the weeds right now. You've spent a year studying inclusive teaching or TILT or SOTL, and you've come across stuff that we haven't. So I think we are going to, Peter and I will spend some time trying to think of a way that we can facilitate you all to share your best resources and the things that you found that have been super helpful. Again, share an area, like an area to share ideas and hips. I would like an opportunity to talk to other CLS facilitators. Okay, so we will, thanks for that last comment. So we will think about how we can help you all share more together. And we'll see if this is, you've said you want to be able to share resources, but also maybe talk to each other. So, if we continue coffee breaks again, most of those last year, for those of you who weren't able to go, we just tried to make most of them time for you all to talk together. So we're happy to continue to do things like that. What else do you all want to talk about or bring up in these last few minutes?
Hey Denise, I just wanted to say about some of these things. I've already started, I did a little bit of this last year, my first year, but I've learned from my mistakes from last year. And so like one of the things I'm doing now is, in our breakout room, we started sharing what we were going to do going forward. And so some of us were zeroing in on some very similar things. And so I, already wrote down their names and email addresses so that this way I can reach out and find out, kind of coordinate or at least share and build off of it. And then I spent a lot of time talking to a colleague who I went through his FLCs when he was a CLS, and then he got involved in mine to be supportive, and he was a great resource to have, so that I could share things with him as I was kind of going through it.
I love that. That's great. Yeah, and I love that you're collecting names, and that's sort of the best case that we can think of as an outcome for this, is for you all to get to know each other and start to make connections across the institutions. I've put my email address in the chat here. So for those of you, I saw a couple of people like Frank here, and then also in the Padlet say, let's find more ways to get together. So if you are interested in resuming the coffee breaks and have certain topics that you want to suggest, or have an idea for, hey, if we did it this way, that would be really cool, send it on. We're super happy to facilitate whatever we can to help you all be successful. Jeff, do you have any other thoughts?
I'm just listening to the stories about building a larger group of friends. The whole idea for this came out of the vision for USG Faculty Network. And so I'm just seeing it. The emphasis on institutional CLS meetings, cross-institutional meetings. Denise, you and I and Peter can talk about the community could be one of the first in that middle pillar that Peter has envisioned, just to enable them to come together and share.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks y'all. Jeff and I and Peter will stay on for a few minutes if you have other questions, but thanks for coming, and we will let you know what's happening next.